Hello there, folks. Spencer England here, Velocity Financial. Guess what? Home price expectation survey time again. Okay, this report comes out every quarter. For those of you that don't know, there's 100 different economists and experts and strategists that get together and they come up with what they project home prices to be over the next 5 years. Pretty good expectations for the next 5 years. We are going to see some really good gains in 2013 to be expected when you're coming out of a recession, and then see hopefully modest gains of 3 to 4%, which is what we normally would see in our normal housing market. You hear a lot of pundits talk about, oh my gosh, are we headed for another housing bubble? The answer to that question is no. Like I said, the pre-bubble trend would have had us going in a 20% increase by 2017 if we didn't have a bubble. And based on all of their projections together, we're at 23.7%. And then I wanted to show you also what the extremists were saying. So those that are really favorable for the housing market, they're expecting some really, really big gains by 2017. And even the bears are still expecting very modest gains at 13%. So even if it was on the worst side, we're still going to probably see, at least 13, 15%, but more than likely we'll still be on that path for 24%. And here's the big reason why I believe that. We see distressed property numbers diving. So you've got fewer foreclosures, and you've got fewer REOs, and you've got fewer short sales that are happening, and more people have equity now when they're selling, and so we're getting back to a healthy market. So because of that, I don't see a bubble happening. If there was free money out there like there was during the subprime days, I might say let's be concerned. But lending guidelines are much tighter today, and so the chances of that happening are much less likely. Besides, here's a really good slide to take a look at. These are the top 8 markets right now in the country that have had more than 20% appreciation since they hit their bottom, which probably was in 2008 for a lot of these markets. Here's how far away they are from their peak, which was probably 2006 for a lot of these. We're still 40.7% away in the Phoenix area away from our peak. So are we headed for a bubble? Probably not. I think we're headed to get ourselves right back on track. Now, I don't usually quote things from Trulia or Zillow. Most of that information you got to take with a big grain of salt, but I will say that Jed Kalko is correct when he says that rising mortgage rates and slowly growing inventories are tapping the brakes on home prices. So that's the reason why they estimated 6.7 for 2013, but then it drops down to 4.2 in the next year. So those things, the lack of inventory and the rising mortgage rates will slow things down a little bit and prevent us from heading into that bubble territory. Another big question that comes up is, as mortgage rates are going up, should we be concerned about how that's going to negatively affect the housing market? And I will point out to you that here are 4 very dramatic mortgage rate increases in history that I have noted here for you. And in each scenario, you can see that even though mortgage rates were rising, so did the real estate value during that time. And the same thing is happening right now. Real estate values have been rising in 2013, and so have mortgage rates since May 1st. So these things, don't be concerned about that. There is no bubble coming, and this is not, rising mortgage rates are not going to destroy our housing market. Rising mortgage rates are going to rise to the point that they need to in order to attract investors, which will probably put us back in that area where we were between 6 and 8%. If you look at our historic mortgage rates over the last 50 years, that's where we are. This is where we've been for the last 18 months. Okay, so we've enjoyed some really, really smoking rates, and a lot of people have gotten spoiled by that. But I tell you, if you got a rate, or you're going to get a rate under 6%, you're doing very good on a 30-year mortgage for the long run. This is more recent rate movement since the beginning of the year. So, like I said, you saw it dramatically change at the beginning of May, and since then, they gave these estimates in July. And already we're at 5% on a lot of conventional mortgage rates right now. This is what they were saying back in April. They were thinking it was going to be 4.3 would be the average mortgage rate by the end of this year, and we're already way past that. Now, for those of you that thought maybe you should wait, here's what you might have lost out on. That same property that you could have bought last year for $400,000 at 3.5% would have yielded you an $1,800 a month payment, would cost you $420,000 this year at 4.5%. causing you to have to pay $332 more per month for the exact same house. So that's the cost of waiting. And our housing market is only going to continue to steadily improve, okay, as you can tell from the expectations. A lot of people are saying, oh my God, I might have already missed the boat. The answer is no, you haven't. If you take a look at this chart and see what the average mortgage rate was for each one of these decades, and compare it on a $250,000 mortgage, you can see that you're still getting a pretty smoking deal in comparison to the last 40 years in 2013. So as long as, like I said, if you're getting a mortgage rate around 6% or less, you're still doing pretty darn good for the long run. This is a great slide to have, print out and take it with you. But this one shows you what your buying power is based upon, what you can afford as a payment, and it tells you, here's what it is based upon this rate. So it's a great tool to use when you're out there looking at properties, trying to figure out which one you can afford. And it also lets you know how much buying power you lose as mortgage rates go up and as prices go up. This is what your competition is doing. So for those of you still thinking about making that lowball offer to the seller just to kind of see if they'll accept it, this is what your competition is doing. 20%. 20 out of 100 buyers are willing to pay up to 5% over the asking price. 9%, 9 out of 100 are willing to pay up to 10%, and 4 out of 100 are willing to pay over 10% over asking price. So that's what your competition is doing. So if you're thinking about lowballing an offer right now, this is not the time to do it. Again, no bubble to really worry about. This is what average annual appreciation looked like pre-bubble. Then during the bubble, obviously it was accelerated. Then we had the bust. And then this is what our expectations are. So, and again, we're working our way back down to that 3 to 4% per year appreciation. John Paulson, if you guys don't know who that is, he's the guy that bet against the housing market in 2006, and he was right, and he made billions, okay? Now, what he's telling you right now, the housing market has bottomed, and it is not too late to get involved. So we certainly are not heading towards a bubble. We're going to hit a peak where things are going to drop again. We're expecting things to slow down and taper off and be back in that 3 to 4% range again. By comparison, this is what the cumulative house appreciation would look like by 2017 if we did not have a bubble to begin with. And then based upon current projections, we're probably going to be right in line with that, right around 20% over the next 5 years. Now, for those of you thinking, I'm not sure if this is right for me, well, here's your return on investment in comparison to other investment opportunities for your money. And as you can see, real estate did pretty darn good over the last 13 years, and it's only going to get better. There is no safer investment, in my professional opinion, than real estate. So anyway, if you have any more questions about this report, or you'd like to get pre-qualified to see if you're ready to buy a second home or an investment property, or you're a first-time home buyer wanting to have your hand held through the home buying process, give me a call. I am happy to help. Thanks for listening, and take care.